See who we got. We got Steve Stillman on the bottom playing Is It Cauldron up against Matthew Takahashi up top playing Mono Red. So kind of the classic match here, and looks like Matthew is on the play with a hired claw. Kind of the dream there, Jim.
Yeah, this is definitely the yin-yang matchup of the format.
Yeah.
You know, VV's the best deck. Mono Red is the second best deck. It's pretty good against VV. And everything else revolves around these two decks.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, Jim, you know, I know you have said those words multiple times that it's good against Mono Red. I still think VV is quite favored in the matchup.
Quite favored?
Quite favored as in maybe like 55-45.
Wow, so why?
So here's the thing why I think it's favored now. We saw Mono Red kind of pop up with this cool hot list that we saw in Orlando. You know, all these hateful 2-drops that are kind of anti-VV cards. But since then, all the VV decks have just started respecting them, and they went from like 1 unable to scream in the board to like 3 or 4, a bunch more obliterating bolts. And it's the classic Mono Red problem. If you can respect the deck and kill the creatures, it's not that hard to beat this deck, as I say, as you know, Matthew is destroying Steve Stillman here.
Yeah.
But I think in general, that is my new thought on the deck, and why I think Is It Cauldron is still favored in that matchup as well.
That's a bold statement.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Red if Red's not good against VV, then why play Red?
I mean, you know, it is still a strong deck, and I think people's perception that it is good against it, you know. But that's just my opinion. And wow, what a nicely timed Burst Lightning. Not waiting until any creature's in the yard, so you don't have to worry about the potential of activating Cauldron in response to something.
Yeah, whenever you see Cauldron on turn 2, it almost always means a creature with a VV in hand.
Yep.
I'm gonna play this Cauldron on turn 2, take a turn off, so next turn I can go nuts.
Yeah.
And Matthew there at the ready, and now absolutely bastardizing it into the red zone.
Yeah, and if Steve had the ideal draw, you'd rather, against Red, have Fear missing out, discard VV, and then Cauldron on 3. But Cauldron on 2 means you have the 3-drop. You have the Scholar, you have the Tursa, and you want to curve out like you said. So.
Oh, boy.
Boom!
So we're going to see max speed hit before these things deal damage because of the trigger on the higher claw.
Yeah.
Double strike of the Bastronauts. I can't even count this high.
Yeah, as much as I was saying, I do think in general this matchup is just favored for Is It Cauldron. This, of course, is a game that is not remotely close. But that being said, Steve is going to get 1 turn to pop off and has VV in the yard. So, I mean, never tell Is It Cauldron the odds, because you can easily still win from this spot. The deck is that good. I shouldn't say easily. It's not trivial, but it is possible.
I was going to say easily is
a little bit of a stretch,
but
yeah.
Possible for sure.
Yes.
2 life against 5 creatures in Mono Red. Easily from this spot. All right, let's see what you got, Steve.
All right, that's a good start. That's another good start. Be able to discard. Oh, that's an even better start. So now you get a counter on Mako. The Agatha Soul Cauldron is able to eat VV. And no matter what, just off that surface value, Steve has 6 mana to work with.
Now, just to check, no Wild Ride.
No Wild Ride,
unfortunately.
Yep.
So there are, and no haste,
Tursa.
No Tursa either, so no haste threats at all. So if we're going to see Steve win the game this turn.
It's getting harder, as you keep telling me these details, that's for sure.
It's going to involve probably like a hard cast VV and a bunch of spells.
Yeah, so I mean, it's realistically, it's not possible to win without either 1 Tursa. I always leave 1 Tursa. You know, I'm on 3 Scholar, 1 Tursa instead of 4 Scholars. For a situation like this, at least you're playing to an out if you need to kill your opponent this turn, because it's not that hard to draw 17 cards in a turn, which is kind of crazy to say. So getting a Tursa, clearing away 1 blocker, it's possible.
Yeah, but as is, the only way for Steve to not let Matthew untap is play a VV and then cast 20 spells.
Yeah, so not possible. For what it's worth, the best Steve can do here is amass a absurd board, kill 1 Hired Claw, and Matthew doesn't draw a burn spell or have one in hand. That's the best Steve can do right now. So even if he does the thing where he doesn't die to, 2 menace creatures as well as 3 other normal creatures, you also have to hope your opponent doesn't have a burn spell. So I would think Steve is, sub 5% to win this game at this point.
5%? You just said never tell me the odds.
Sorry.
that.
Yeah, I don't want you to tell me. I want to tell you the odds, okay?
Well, let me add to the conversation. Never tell me the odds.
Whoa, checkmate, good sir. But yeah, imagine if you even had the one wild ride, which, for what it's worth, I don't play it right now either. I still am not sure about it because I lose to it a good chunk of times, but the times I play it and it gets stuck in my hand and it looks horrendous, was just about as much as I would win the game with it, so I ended up cutting it. But if you can wild ride on a FOMO and have profs in play, it doesn't take that much to kill your opponent.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy how the presence of one singular haste card will completely change the script here.
Yeah, that's why I play one Tursa instead of one wild ride. And Tursa's just a fine card.
It's still dancing. Making mana, of course. Calder gives the ability of every creature with a counter on it, the mana ability of Vivi.
Yep.
So as a new creature comes in, gets a new counter, we can keep going. Just kidding, never mind, we're all done.
Yep. Okay, so just a fantastic start from Matthew, and honestly, still relatively close. If Steve was on the play there, I bet he wins that game.
Fair.
Yeah, All right, so let's take a look at the sideboard here, starting with Steve Stillman. By the way, a great player, just played his first Pro Tour at Edge of Eternity, so is kind of on a heater right now, was the best performing player playing Boros midrange. For a little fun fact. So now, Jim, 2 Annul, 1 Fresh Start, 2 Obliterating Bolt, 2 Quantum Riddlers, 2 Spell Pierce, 2 Spidey Sense, 2 Torch the Tower, 2 Unable to Scream. What do you like?
Kill spells.
Kill them.
2 Unable to Scream, 1 Fresh Start, turning off Nemesis, Torch Tower, Obliterating Bolt. Just keep things off the board. Buy yourself time and do your thing. Because clearly the thing that Cauldron is doing is more impressive overall than the thing that Mono Red is doing.
Yes. So, I mean, look at that presence. That presence of 6 removal spells coming in. When we were in Orlando, when Mono Red had a great tournament, everyone was just dying to, one Razorkin Needlehead because people were trimming on their torches because they weren't great in the mirror, and they weren't putting a lot of removal spells in the board because everyone expected so many VV mirrors. So this is the respect you need to stand up to Mono Red. And then, of course, it's still close. But slightly favored in my opinion. Matthew's side, we got 1 Chandra, Spark Hunter, 1 Cut Propulsion, 3 Obliterating Bolt, 2 Pyroclasm, 2 Stingerback Terror, 3 Sunspine Lynx, 1 Take for a Ride, 1 Thunder Magic, and 1 Twisted Fealty. What do you like?
All right, so Cut Propulsion can kill large flyers. Only 1 Fealty. I'm going to need an Oracle text on Take for a Ride. It sounds like a threatened effect of some kind.
Yes.
So if that's a threatened effect, usually we see 2 Fealty. If it's 1 Fealty, 1 Take for a Ride, that makes sense. But I think that, as we've seen previously, Mono Red needs to kind of cheese out here a little bit. Threatening a large flyer, it's pumped by profs, and then just being as fast as possible.
Yeah. Totally agree with you. Okay, so before we get into this match, let's take a look at all the events that we're going to see in 2026. We still have some events here in 2025, but 2026 is going to be jam-packed. But before we do that, let's take a look at this really cool sale-ish that we got. We can get some sealed product, singles, supplies, and more. StarCityGames.com if you want to check out, maybe pre-order any of the Avatar set, Spider-Man. You can still get packs for that. Some of these collector boosters for Edge of Eternities. All that information at StarCityGames.com. Now let's take a look at all the events here in 2026 that we're going to be taking a look at. And woo, Jim, there's a lot of events. But this is going to be a heck of a fun year.
Yeah, a lot of cool spots here. A lot of great cities in this list. We've already discussed. We're in Baltimore right now. Of course, Baltimore is great. Dallas, Fort Worth, love that area. L.A., Hartford's a nice little bunny hop for me across the Long Island Sound. Of course, Vegas. We'll be in Vegas next month, which is super fun, going back there again. And just a lot of great spots. Love Portland. Atlanta's great. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I think Portland is my favorite just because I don't get to that city enough. And it's some of the best food I have ever had, but I'm also just so excited. I am a Midwest boy, so going back to Milwaukee always is fun. Heading back to the Midwest is something I enjoy doing, but I have to stop home while I'm there. It's close enough to North Dakota. Looks like these players are ready to go, though. We'll see these players in action. We got good old Steve on the play. And if you're just joining us, Jim Davis, Corey Baumeister, going to be bringing you coverage here for this round. And, of course, next round we will have Reed Duke and Ailey Loney coming in to bring us home.
Little spotlight peek here. Pretty cool sideboard card here in the red deck. Stickerback Terror. Not for this matchup, but for the mirror, pretty cool. Just the classic, like, big, dumb red flyer for red mirrors, you know?
Yeah. No, perfectly reasonable card, that's for sure. Also, Matthew's shirt is awesome.
Yeah, that is pretty cool, yes.
That's a fly dog. All right, let's see what we want here. Steve deciding if we want to keep, and one mulligan from Matthew. And we're underway. Spire Bluff Canal comes on down for Steve. A mountain on the other side. And let's see what amazing 2-drop Steve is going to deploy. Fear of missing out. Discards the new Spider-Man land. And I got to say, love Steve for plenty of reasons. That's the right mountains. That's my favorite lands, those John Avon full art lands. I have giant copies hanging in my stream room, which I guess you have seen.
I have been there, yes.
Cool stuff.
I've streamed from there before.
That is true, yeah. And then I came home, and I was wondering how you got in my house, but whatever.
Dude, windows, you got to lock them. And basement windows are never locked.
Yeah, I know, but you also broke the window, dude, so whatever. We'll
That was after the fact.
I'll invoice you here after this show.
I'm not paying.
Double fear of missing out, and now we are in dangerous territory here. Screaming Nemesis on defense says a lot about what Matthew is recognizing his position is in the game.
That was a confident defensive Nemesis.
Yes. Well, Jim, walk us through how it works with 2 fear of missing out when it comes to them both having delirium.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah?
It's a lot of attack steps.
Yes.
Yeah, so if we were to see that and profs or whatever, we could see a lethal attack for sure. So
yeah.
Interesting, though, that Matthew's already taken the defensive posture as early as turn 3. I mean, Steve's draw is really, really good here. Had the answer to Needlehead, has double creatures in play, and is really going nuts.
Yeah. So, drawing some cards. If we do have Delirium, the nice thing you can do is attack with 1, fear of missing out, untap that same creature. Then the next combat, attack with the other fear of missing out.
Oh, my God.
And looks like that's what we're going to be able to do here. Delirium. So now we're going to see the trick. And, ooh. I guess, is it probably the same? Because 2, then 6, 7, 8. It should be 8 damage either way, I guess. So it is the same right now. But normally, you can take a 3rd combat step if you stack it right.
All right. The Emerald Challenger coming in for 2. Not as impressive as it once was.
No. Fear missing out is going to do a little bit more work. And, you know, this is just, is it Cauldron on the play? If they have the nut draw, it doesn't matter what red has, in my opinion. But if red has the nut draw and Is It Cauldron has the nut draw on the draw, I think it still favors Steve, which I think that's telling of the matchup.
Frenzy time. So could have maybe played around the frenzy there by attacking 1 at a time.
Could have, yeah. But you don't play around Lightning Strike that way, and you attack for 1, then you don't get that combat, but
sure,
it's minor.
Oh, man. Just casually drawing 2, no problem.
Oh, let's go. Now the extra combats get a lot more tricky when you got a gigantic flyer here, so back Steve's way. See what we want to do here. A little smirk there from Steve. Probably like, wow, my deck is great.
Why 6?
Huh.
6 toughness. This is so much.
You know, didn't want it to die to Witchstalker Frenzy.
Yeah. Or any card in the red deck. I guess Cut Propulsion would do it, but.
Yeah, but that is not even a commonly played card. And like, man, if you're attacking Riddler in that way, just trying to kill Riddler is not great. Because, well, it already got to eat. It already got to draw a couple cards. It's already drawn 3 cards right now. And now you get to attack, and then post-combat you can Winter Night Stories or get in 4 more damage.
That a
burst of lightning.
Going face. 20 to 18.
18. Take for a ride. Let's get that one pulled up on the screen.
Yes, please.
For, of course, the people at home that don't know what that card does, because we, of course, know exactly what that card does.
Word for word.
Yes. Gain control of a creature until end of turn. Untap that creature. Gains haste. But you can cast it as though it had haste if you've committed a crime.
All right. Well, a crime was committed.
Yeah.
All right, not the typical use you want to use with a card like this.
Yeah. 'Cause, yeah, if anything, wouldn't you want to take it and block the FOMO? Double block even?
That's what I thought. I guess it was after blocks, yeah.
Well, I mean, you could have did it before blocks, right?
Right, that's what, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I agree with your assessment.
The Scala.
Fortunately, there's another word on here. It's until end of turn.
Yes.
So the Riddler is going back.
Maybe we have the consigned. All right, just kidding. Wrong format. Draw a card off Matthew, and
I think we're going to game 3.
I think you took the words out of my mouth. Matthew tends to agree. And now the game that really matters, game 3 with mono red on the play. That can be tricky, of course, for Cauldron on the draw. You have to have some respect for the matchup. You got to keep a hand with like either a torch, an unable to scream, or at least some kind of instant speed interaction. Fresh Start is another very good new piece of interaction here, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, pretty cool cards on the same vein as Unable to Scream. It's kind of unfortunate for the red players where they both have these shock effects, right? And the shock effects in Steve's Cauldron deck kill everyone in 2-drop in Matthew's deck. But Matthew's shocks don't always kill the 2-drops in Steve's deck with the FOMOs. We saw about that game where like it was just FOMO into FOMO, shock your thing.
Yeah.
And then Matthew couldn't break serve back on mana parity with his own shocks.
Yeah.
And that's just tough.
It is tough. So, you know, the Burst Lightnings of the world, they're okay. I would imagine Mono Red trims them a little bit, but we shall see. So, before we get into this, we are, of course, at Magic Spotlight Spider-Man, but let's take a look at the next Spotlight, and that's going to be into 2026, and it's Spotlight the Avatar. I'm really excited for this one. This is going to be awesome. First event of the year. Everyone's coming home from the holidays. They're ready to play some Magic, so make sure to join us here in Atlanta, Georgia, January 9th through the 11th. It's going to be a lot of fun. I believe standard, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, okay. So this one's going to be standard as well, with some of the very, very cool cards from the newest set. So awesome stuff. Make sure to join us in Atlanta. That's going to be a fun one, Jim.
Should be really cool.
And here we go. Players playing at a solid pace, which we appreciate.
Big game, too. Your winner here locks up day 2.
Yes.
We'll have a lot more to do, of course. You know, seeing 6-3 on day 2 is not ideal, but it does feel nice to lock it up and feel like you can just play the rest of the day.
And 6-3, though, you know, there is that chance that you go XO and you still make it to the top 8, so still things to play for. But, yeah, 6-3 at an RC looks a lot better as you can, like, X1 into a Pro Tour invite. A little rougher at the Spotlight.
Yep.
Bastronaut coming in, going from Speed 1 to Speed 2.
And 1 mana removal spell.
And honestly, yeah, if I'm Steve, I think Steve played this perfectly because you don't care that your opponent's at Speed 1 or Speed 2. You don't care that your life is at 19 versus to 20. You care that there's no Razorkin Needlehead as you untap. So you need to play defensive for that. Nice, very patient play from Steve Stillman.
There's FOMO again, not shockable. Can't block either.
Yeah.
Sneaky menace there on the Goblin.
Yep. Yeah, the Bastronaut is a great card. And Screaming Nemesis. Now Steve is put to the test. If Steve does not interact with creatures and just does something like a Scholar or something, those are the games you lose from the Cauldron side. But if he can go Unable to Scream on Nemesis and a 2-drop, something like that, that's where you want to be from the Cauldron side.
Big turn for Steve. I strongly agree. This is probably the most important turn of the game.
Yeah. I would definitely agree. Let's see what we got from Steve. Big thinks, recognizing this is the crux of the game, crux of the match.
Great mana here for Steve, too. Just a couple
Just
Fireball
perfect.
Canals, you know.
Just perfect. Really capped off with the most beautiful John Avon lands you'll ever see. Mine are beat and worn so much that, I got to start buying new ones, but it's from years of having fun with them. So props is not amazing here. And wow, we're getting busy. Yeah, if you're not blocking, might as well get in. I did see an Into the Flood Moth, so there's at least that as far as interaction goes, but that's not amazing.
Oh.
At least you get to bounce one of them.
This is a game, at least, where Matthew is having the initiative on the front foot, really applying some pressure.
Yep. 4 damage comes in. Max speed has arrived. And now this has to be the turn. This has to be... You either have to have a good amount of removal spells, or it's time to do the VV Cauldron thing and go way over the top of your opponent. Because your opponent is probably just going to go land 5, Screaming Nemesis, pump the Bastronaut. Like, even that feels like a very baseline surface value play. What can you do against that?
Yeah, Bastronaut now has double strike thanks to max speed, and has the ability to spend 2 mana and get plus on so effectively 1 mana for 1 damage for each pump, which could be a lot of damage if Steve just taps out, doesn't have enough blockers.
Yep. And now there is another world where you can go with the combo of, hey, I don't have VV Cauldron, but I have Prof's FOMO. Can I get to Delirium? Something like Riddler into Winter Night Stories, draw a total of 4 cards, get Delirium. That's another nice one. Is it Riddler time? No, okay. It is a bolt on the Bastronaut. Doesn't want to take 4 from Nemesis. That makes sense. So it looks like we are going the defensive route. And this is Steve saying, I don't have enough to kill you this turn. I want to get in some chip shot damage, interact on your turn, maybe another bounce spell, and then try to win on the following turn.
Feeling a fresh start here.
Yeah. Only one of them, but, I believe it.
Kind of hard to imagine what else this could be. Where Steve
Another into the Flood Maw, maybe?
Yeah, where Steve's happy with this turn. Wow.
Ooh.
Really respecting FOMO here.
Wow.
We have seen FOMO kill out of nowhere a few times, but with Steve at 11 and a 2-turn clock, leaving back a Nemesis here seems crazy.
It seems crazy, and, me as a diehard Cauldron player, I'm like, it's not that crazy.
Yeah, but given how last turn played out,
yeah.
I'm not feeling particularly threatened if I'm Matthew.
Leaves both back.
Oh, my God. Really?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm still probably attacking with both and making Steve have it.
All right, cast Fresh Start, make Jim look good.
Come on, cast Into the Flood Maw, make Corey look good. All right, there is Into the Flood Maw and a Braid. But land as well. So,
okay.
Not a lot going on. We really need a way to draw some cards here. Riddler is probably your best draw. Riddler into Winter Night Stories is GG. I haven't done the math fully, but I'm just assuming. 4 counters onto that, so 7. It is.
That statement is not backed up by any research at all.
Yeah, it's backed up by the amount of muscle memory I have from doing it. And it actually is, because we have 3 power here. It would get 4, go up to 7, then it gets 4 more, up to 11. 11 plus 7 is 18. That's not what Matthew's at. So with that bounce spell as well, if we do find that, that's lethal. And there's nothing one mountain can do.
Working it through.
Now, if you do have to cast this and tap your FOMO, you're not going to be doing the FOMO tricks, of course.
Sorcery Instant. Pretty far from Delirium at the moment.
Yep. Leads me to believe that we drew a blank, and it does look like our new Spider-Man land. So 2 land into the Flood Maw in hand. So what else can you do? I guess if we just cast Winter Night Stories for 5 mana, and that's going to be 3 counters, that puts us to 6, then 9. That's 15. So if we can Winter Night Stories into Delirium, that is still... Oh, but you don't have the 1 extra mana to get rid of the Nemesis, so... Leaving that Nemesis back.
Yeah, all right.
And leaving both back. If you didn't leave both back, Winter Night Stories into Finding Delirium would have been lethal here.
That's kind of crazy. Wow.
That is crazy. So Matthew really understands the matchup. Very impressed with that. And now maybe Matthew smells blood and is just straight going for the win.
Really interesting last few turns.
Yeah. Really interesting of Steve to not use this FOMO and Winter Night Stories, though, as well, and just have the 1 bounce spell and hope he's not dead. I would have did that for sure.
Yeah, it seems pretty tough to not do anything that turn.
Yes.
The classic no attack, no block, no spell, all lands untapped.
Down to 5. Dangerous territory.
Just going to pass the turn again. Wow. What posture. I love this.
Yeah, I feel like this is, hey, I have the win, and I'm just waiting for you to tap out maybe? Let's see.
There are a bunch of Witchstalker frenzies in the deck, so.
I mean, now at this point, I think Steve goes for the just hard cast Winter Night Stories from the yard, hope the 2 attacks gets it done. You already have the land in hand, so that's +1 to Delirium. You just need to find a creature or an enchantment.
Both players showing a really keen awareness of like all the possibilities that this game could end in.
And that's just why this matchup is so sick. Both players, their roles change at different times during the match all the time, and you really need to identify that. Wow, just an attack for 3. I think this is just too cautious of Steve. Unless he drew some kind of other piece of interaction, but it's hard to not think you're just dead. Wow, so the Witchstalker Frenzy on the Screaming Nemesis. And this looks like a lightning strike upstairs and a second lightning strike upstairs. And that's going to do it. Matthew Takahashi takes it down and advances to 6-0. Let's keep an eye on Matthew. Matthew